Hello, welcome to the Tennessee Bar Association's Legislative Update podcast with Berkley Schwarz, Brad Lampley, Ashley Harbin. So it's the full group today.
The trio is back together.
Yeah, the full group. It's amazing.
I know we both have asked Ashley if she listened to last week's, but she's too busy for that.
Wow.
I'm turning into Brad Lampley.
Obviously, Berkley, she was too busy. And when she wasn't, she still wasn't responding, because that's the takeaway from last week. Ashley's really busy and she's super non-responsive. So
what we decided, Brad, is that I'm so responsive. Instead of responding, I say I can't respond. I'll be in touch when I can.
Busy to talk,
which is never. She's like at 6:30.
Hey, look, I'm not the one that brought it up last week, Berkley. I'm just saying. So we do have some breaking news, by the way.
We do.
Just by the time this gets aired, but Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally announced earlier this morning. So we cut this, I guess it's a little bit afternoon on Thursday, and you guys will see it Friday. But we learned earlier this morning that Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally, who has served in the state legislature for almost 50 years, is not going to run for re-election this summer. So first of all, Ashley, let's talk about the lieutenant governor and his legacy, but then quickly move on, I think, to the next thing everybody wants to know. But, who's going to replace him in that role, both in his seat in the Senate, and then also in his seat in the lieutenant governor's office, because that's pretty significant. But I think really quickly, he'll go down as a legend in Tennessee politics. I mean, up there with some of the people that we know, like Lieutenant Governor John Wilder and so forth, and the Lieutenant Governor McNally has obviously a long distinguished career, long noted as a fiscal hawk.
Exactly.
Deep pride in the state's AAA plus bond rating, was always big on that. Just really, I think maybe one of the obvious forefathers of really Republican conservative politics in the state. He was also known, by the way, for those of you that remember some history, that he actually was an FBI and TBI informant. I guess, what was that, in the 70s, right? In the late 70s, maybe early 80s, to really pull back the curtain on some corruption that was going on in the state legislature. So he's had a long, very distinguished career, will be missed. I think once Lieutenant Governor Ron Ramsey stepped down, it made a lot of sense for Senator McNally then at the time to fill that role, and he has done really well in that role. And gosh, I should be better on my history. I'm trying to figure out when he became lieutenant governor. It's probably been 8 to 10 years.
It was 2017. So the caucus elected him in 2016. Yeah. But then, of course, the full Senate elected him in January of 2017.
So, okay, give us your early perspective now on what you think about let's talk about who's going to fill some of those spots.
What's going to happen, Ashley?
Well, to use Brad's favorite terminology, there's going to be a lot of jockeying, I think, is what we're about to see, right?
That's the Kentucky in me, but yes.
Do you like that, Brad?
He likes to also talk a lot about mouse traps. Okay, please proceed.
So I think
Berkley didn't like it.
Well, I think there are some obvious, we think about who's in leadership now, right? So you have the majority leader, Jack Johnson, but we've also heard rumblings from the Senate Commerce Chairman, Paul Bailey. And of course, we've also heard Finance Chairman Bo Watson. And then I think, we can't necessarily single out or call out Ken Yeager either. He's the caucus chair. So I think maybe the natural trajectory in his mind would be for him to move up to majority leader. But I think I don't want to. I think if I had to choose two that would kind of be in the race, it would be Jack Johnson and Paul Bailey. So I think that's probably.
Johnson from Franklin, Brentwood area there in Williamson County. Paul Bailey from the Cookeville area, lives down in Sparta as where he lives. And then obviously Bo Watson from Chattanooga. So those are your geographical ties there, but it will be interesting. And I go back to there's an old saying in politics. It'll be interesting, by the way, because the caucus vote, which is really what will foreshadow the main vote of the Senate, which is almost a formality given the numbers and how that breaks down. It's such an overwhelming supermajority for the Republicans, but the caucus vote is done on a secret ballot. So that brings back the old story. I got 25 votes for speaker, but had to send 40 thank you notes because a lot of times people will say, "Hey, I'm with you, Berkley. You got my votes," and then all of a sudden you vote for Ashley instead. That's happened a lot.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it'll be very interesting to see. So he'll finish obviously out the session, and
He'll finish out and then really until January, because Brad and I were on a call earlier today and someone pointed out that you actually don't have to be a sitting senator to be the lieutenant governor of the state of Tennessee.
Yeah.
So he will be technically lieutenant governor until January, even though he will no longer be a state senator once the election happens in November.
Okay.
Another thing to think about that will be of interest to you all, especially the Anderson County, Oak Ridge area, will be who will take his place in the Senate, because you don't really have a lot of time to kind of switch gears and either run for that or decide you're going to run. So I think a person to watch will be Rick Scarborough. Rick is outstanding. He's in his second year state rep from Oak Ridge, very well connected in the area, former police chief in Clinton, I believe. And so, but Rick is terrific. He's done a really good job taking on some big legislation already. One of the rising stars of the House. He might be a logical choice to run for that. But, whenever these state Senate seats open up, and actually I go back to when Jack Johnson ran for state Senate in Williamson County, that was a very, very crowded field that he emerged out of. So it's usually more than just one or two high profile candidates. You'll have a bunch of people wanting to take a shot at that, because that's a big deal. That you get a state Senate seat, that is there's only 33 of them. And so it's a big deal. We'll see who all runs for it, and it'll be interesting to watch.
And there's only an opening where you're not running against an incumbent every, 40 years or whatever.
Yeah. These don't come on. They don't come open very often. Let's just say that. So we got a lot of transition. I mean, you're going to have a new governor next year. You're going to have a new lieutenant governor next year. Just a lot going on in Tennessee politics for those that pay attention. And by the way, collectively, I think people within this beltway out the window, they pay attention to it quite a bit. I think once we get to about maybe Memorial Day, Ashley, people then begin to think about, all right, who's going to be next? Who's going to be the next governor? Who might be lieutenant governor? So there'll be a lot of that going on, especially as the weather improves and the year moves on.
That's right. We'll be invited to a lot of events, because once they're out of session, for good or bad, we'll be invited to a lot, and we will have to show our faces. But
Everybody
once session
listen to the podcast will be invited, because they seem to send out a lot of invites to this stuff.
That's right. But Brad, once session ends, we're immediately emails, fundraisers, help us, door knock. So the craziness, we feel like we're in the craziness right now, but that will continue on even after the legislative session.
I had a client, to your point, ask me yesterday, Ashley. She said, I hate that I'm going to miss Marcia's fundraiser like in late March.
There will be others.
Don't worry about it. There's going to be one more, probably 2 weeks after that, another one after that. And
exactly.
Really, I said, oh, yes, a lot.
You're like, you'll have another chance.
You'll get to see Marcia. That's
right. Yeah. So you were so right. So a lot of changes. And so, but it's bizarre, because I was looking to see which, how many of the podcasts we've done. I feel like this is our fourth or fifth. I don't know. I think I looked it up and got distracted and actually didn't find out. But they're already establishing and sending out like final, when committees are going to close and when you need to put your bills on notice. It really, between the snow and everything else and now this last week, the House did not hold committee meeting hearing. Yeah. So that means that none of the bills could progress through the House. The Senate did. And in a lot of ways, it was good, because a lot of legislators had to be there anyway. I mean, they all had to be there, but a lot of them stayed because they're on finance or for a variety of reasons. And they had a little more time to sit down and meet with us and talk to us about all these different bills. So, and it feels like next week, every single bill is on notice of everything I'm working on, of everything anyone else is working on. I think the agendas are like 150 bills long, you know, for commerce and judiciary. So it's going to be a long week next.
Well, it's tough because you just can't meet with every single member about every single bill. So you have to pick and choose and do the best you can. And sometimes things pass, you know, I mean, it's just, you hate to say that, but you often have to prioritize. And I think a lot of us as lawyers like to look and, you know, let's tweak this here, let's tweak that there. And unfortunately, we're nearing that point in session where it's really hard to do that. This session in particular, I mean, as you talked about with the ice storm and then this past week where they didn't meet on the House side at all outside of finance, it feels like I'm going to use an expression, actually, it feels like a 2-liter Coke in a 12-ounce can. That's about how this, because everything that's going to happen is going to happen in the next 3 weeks. And in the month of March, if you know a lobbyist, just steer clear of them in the month of March because they're going to be miserable. They already are miserable. But then hopefully as the weather gets going and nice in April, and we get to the Masters, and everybody can kind of get in a good mood again. We'll see. But they're not slowing down, as we all know. I mean, it looks like they are committed to being out in April, and you back the schedule up. If you're going to do that, in mid-April, rather, if you're going to do that, then you've got to have a budget set for April 1st, and you got to get all your legislation essentially done, you know, right now, these next 4 weeks. So it's going to be crazy.
To another Bradism, we are nearing the high water mark of session, ladies and gentlemen.
You mentioned that last week too.
If I hear another thing about hack committee calendars, I'm going to lose my mind. I mean, I'm telling you, sorry, that's an inside joke for our Adams and Reese team, but we get this report once a week, and like last 4 weeks in a row, I'm like, there's a packed committee calendar, but like, no, it's not packed. It's not close to packed. We'll tell you when it's packed. It's not packed.
Wait. Yeah. Yeah. Next week, which we will get a calendar, or we have the calendar, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. We've got it. Yeah, it is insane. So yeah. So it's interesting because, you know, we usually come in here and talk about all these bills that we've been working on. This week has been so different because really we're just having conversations, mostly playing defense on all these bills that we're getting the comments back and the feedback from the sections. So, you know, we're going to be pushing our bills. They're all on notice, some in the House, both in the House and the Senate. Next week, we're already meeting with legislators to talk to them about why these bills need to be passed. We are, like I said, doing all the defense, and I wish I could sit here and tell you all the back and forth and update, but it's changing. I mean, we will get off this podcast and it would change again. So we will update you guys next week, at least how things are progressing for sure, and list the bills that we've been working on. But yeah, it's been a little bit of a weird session, which I think we probably say that every year, but definitely a little weirder this year than most, for sure. So right. Yeah, different than normal. Yeah. Well, okay, so we're gonna wrap this up kind of early this week, but thank you to everyone who well, I guess we should just put in one plug real quick. Somebody was like, oh, it was almost over. Don't you hate when somebody's like, and oh wait. But Day on the Hill, March 8th, big show. Thank you.
We talked about it.
That's it. That's all we got to say.
I've got a you say I like to give out fake awards, and here's one for you. This is the Watcher of the Week award going to our good friend Joe Kirkland.
That's right.
It's nice for us to send an email to all of us collectively talking about how much he enjoyed the podcasts this year. Thank you, Joe. We love you. The reason I love Joe is because unlike most emails you all get, it's not like, oh, Ashley, you're so wonderful, and Berkley, you're the best, and it just ignores me. So thank you, Joe, for at least copying me on that email, and I really appreciate it. And so you win the award that always irritates Berkley, that I just make up stuff. So there's this week's made.
Joe really is the best.
He is.
So he's a loyal listener. He's always got great input and
legendary real estate lawyer in Memphis. I mean,
that's right.
Legendary. So he
I know Ashley's going to meet with them as soon as she hangs up.
Here in about 20 minutes, Joe and we have a phone call to get to. So he's helping out on some legislation and providing input for us on a bill that we've agreed to work with the registers who are bringing it. And so they asked for our input, and who better to have on the call than Joe Kirkland on an issue like that. So thank you, Joe.
And
Exactly.
I guess one more shout out, Berkley. Congratulations to TBA had their elections, and the president, so soon to be, I guess, vice president next year, and then president 28 and 29. God, it seems so far away. Our good friend Mary Beth Maddox, who has long been a servant, a very capable. I guess she's a treasurer, right, Berkley?
Yeah, she's been the treasurer for a few years.
Signs our checks, and so she. But Mary Beth has been a treasurer forever on the board of governors, and so now she's going to be president in 28 and 29. And so anybody in East Tennessee that sees her, make sure to refer to her as, what is it? What is the Spanish for El? It's not El Presidente, because is it La Presidente? What is it if you're the female president? What is that? What's
up?
We just call her Madam President.
that?
Madam President.
I know, but I always like the Spanish version of it. I always call, like, if it's a man, you call it El Presidente, but I didn't take Spanish.
El Jefe, the boss.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
This kid, you see, that's where I get lost, because I took French, so I didn't do the Spanish.
Well, I did take Spanish, but my teacher called me in Spanish the girl who knows no Spanish. So there you go. So, but I still aced that class. So, you know,
Yeah.
well, it was the same test she gave us a practice test. It was the same test. I just memorized everything.
You seriously really called you the girl who knows no Spanish? Is that
Yes. And she said it in Spanish, which I cannot speak.
Was it like no sabes los todos or something?
Probably so, but so that was amusing.
And I always say, I remember that phrase because we had a friend who we used to call her a know-it-all, and we called her in Spanish know-it-all. And that's how cool I was in high school. I referred to people in Spanish. But you know what my Spanish name in Spanish class was? Bonita.
Bonita. I like it. I feel like
Do you know what that means?
Beauty, right?
Yeah. And that
There you go. See, I do know some Spanish.
There you go.
I think, but here's the problem. I asked you all a question a minute ago. Both of you have taken Spanish at a pretty high level. Neither of you can answer that. Like, if you have a Madam President, what is the name for that in Spanish?
Madam President.
Presidente. I don't know.
El Presidente.
It's
I will learn.
yes, it's
and I will be,
Presidente. We'll have to. Somebody like
we will have the answer next week.
that's an
on this
embarrassing line of
podcast.
Emily. All right, that's enough. We're going off the rails.
Yeah. The people are like, God, I thought this was ending like
Yeah, this
10
is
minutes
awful.
ago.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it is now. It's been a long week. I do think it's weird. You'd think we'd be so stressed out and angry, and we're just so happy to have a break. Just
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm looking at my to-do list. That was not.
I know.
So
Okay. Well,
here.
nice. Thank you to everyone who listened today. We appreciate it. We're on every week. We'll be back next Friday, and we'll give you an update then. But if you have any other questions or anything, wait till next week, and we'll.
Don't email us. We're all non-responsive, right?
Yeah, don't email, please. Unless you're Joe. Joe, you're always welcome to send us an email. Thanks, everyone.
It's tough to get an email responded to, or a project. I got one yesterday from a research. Hey, can you look into this? I don't know when I'm going to get to it. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah. You're like, TBD.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
See you next week.